Welcome to Wall Street Unspun with your host, Peter Schiff.
But it's a giant bubble in search of a pin, and it's going to find one.
Are you confused with the ups and downs of the economy and what it means to you?
Don't believe the propaganda, and that's what it is. When you're listening to an analyst on a lot of these popular financial shows, you're not getting investment advice. You're getting propaganda.
Get ready to untangle the web of misinformation provided by the mainstream media.
These firms are trying to sell you stocks. Their real clients, their banking clients, are trying to get rid of stocks.
And now, here's your host of Wall Street Unspun, the president of Euro Pacific Capital and a licensed broker with a passion for truth. It's Wall Street Unspun with Peter Schiff.
Hi, everybody. This is a very frustrated Peter Schiff, Euro Pacific Capital. You're going to have to bear with me because I'm not sure when I can start this show. I'm having the same technical problems I had last time. My people who are working on the show, once again, kind of screwed up this whole thing. Let me see, the number to call, I don't know if I'm going to take call-ins, 888-678-9597, 888-678-9597, but don't call yet. I am still trying to work on now to even reestablish my internet connection, which I can't even seem to do, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'm just working on it. If I can't figure out how to get back on the internet in the next couple of minutes, I'll just forget about it and just do the show. There won't be any phone calls. What I was trying to do is get this equipment that I spent a lot of money to buy to work, and I tried to call in 15, 20 minutes in advance to get it to work. And, of course, I couldn't get it to work, and I wanted to try it using the internet. And somehow, just simply by plugging this internet cord into my cable modem, I no longer have any internet service in my house. I have no idea what I need to do, and it doesn't look like, but, you know, I know what I can do. I've got a laptop. I'm going to use my laptop, and I'm going to try to use my little Wi-Fi connector. I don't know how good the signal is in my house. I'll try to get on the internet that way. And that way I can see the calls. But I don't have any of the web addresses. Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to, even if I get on, I don't have the addresses for the site where I can see the calls coming in.
I can tell you you have a call, but you can't hear me, by the way.
I don't know. Anyway, apparently my whole internet connection is ruined at my house. I don't know what I'm going to do here. Anyway, I guess I'll just go on with the show. I can't do anything. Anyway, I think this is April 28th. It's Wednesday. I do the show every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And anyway, there's a lot of stuff been going on this week, obviously. And hold on, I got to close these doors. I got my son is here tonight, and he's trying to play with me. I got to close the doors here. We just got a interest rate cut out of the Reserve Bank in New Zealand. They're now down to about 2.5%, and it's really irresponsible what these central banks are doing all around the world. Everybody feels that they have to cut rates. New Zealand is still higher than most central banks, but their rate is much, much too low. So, unfortunately, the United States, we're basically poisoning the monetary system. We're corrupting the monetary system of the entire world. And everybody is going to suffer. I mean, ultimately, Americans are going to suffer the most, but unfortunately, we are going to lead the world into such an inflationary nightmare that basically, America is probably going to be universally hated by the rest of the world, probably for the next generation or so. I mean, people are going to forget a lot of the good things that the United States did, last century, in the earlier part, in the middle part of last century, and after the Second World War. I think we're going to completely destroy our reputation all around the world, and I think, unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult to be an American because we are going to basically destroy the monetary system of the world with this interest rate policy. Now, I wish more nations had some kind of willingness to stand up to what America is doing and refuse to march in lockstep behind the United States and behind the Federal Reserve, and would just stand up and would do what's right. But unfortunately, they're not. I mean, the world's politicians are just as guilty because they're taking their marching orders from the Fed and from Washington, and for whatever reasons, they're just afraid. And it's really a shame. I mean, still, I think ultimately assets in other countries. I'm looking at the New Zealand stock market. All the New Zealand stocks are up pretty strongly today. They have been going up. I think stocks around the world are going to go up because there's massive inflation. But it's unfortunate because people around the world, retired people, people who have money in savings, they're going to see their savings wiped out. And why? Why is all this going to happen? Why does the world feel that they have to destroy their own people, their own savings, just to artificially maintain the phony lifestyle of 300 million Americans? It absolutely makes no sense whatsoever, yet you look around the world and all these central banks are doing it. Now, at some point, when inflation just gets so out of control, like I know in New Zealand, they have to keep inflation below 3% or 2 to 3% is their target. I don't know. Once it starts running at 5 to 10%, what are they going to do? Are they going to just say, well, we have to have this inflation? Maybe the rest of the world will follow in the United States' footsteps and simply lie about their inflation, change the way they calculate inflation so they can pretend that inflation is within their comfort zone, so they can keep on printing money and keep interest rates really low, so they can keep the American economy artificially pumped up. It makes absolutely no sense. But anyway, I expect stocks to continue to rise around the world because of this monetary policy. Even U.S. stocks, I mean, the bear market rally is continuing. The market was up today. I think U.S. stocks will continue to lose ground relative to foreign stocks because it's our economy that's so fundamentally messed up. These other economies around the world that are still pursuing irresponsible monetary policies, the underlying economic fundamentals are not nearly as screwed up as they are here in the United States. But of course, they're doing the wrong thing. I think if you look at the chart in gold, I mean, to me, gold looks like it's getting ready to really break out to the upside. I mean, it looks like it's forming, a very strong, almost like a reverse head and shoulders bottom, where the neckline would be around 1,000. And it's not really a bottom because, we're still in a bull market. These are not lows. But if you just look at just a short-term picture of the graph, that's how it looks. But ultimately, I think once we break above that 1,000 level, I think gold prices are going to be off to the races. And if you look at the bond market, I mean, bond prices have kind of broken down a little bit recently. The 10-year yield is now above 3%. This is the highest it's been in several months. And again, this could indicate the same thing, where you're getting a breakout in gold potentially, a breakdown in the bond price, that the inflationary pressures are finally starting to surface. And what I think is that in the beginning stages, of course, the politicians are going to take a victory lap. The Fed is going to pretend that this is a victory, that the bond market going up, that prices starting to rise is somehow indicative of the fact that we've turned the corner and the government has saved us from deflation. Of course, that's all nonsense. But ultimately, as inflation gets higher and higher, it's going to be very difficult for the government to disguise it, not only in the United States, but all around the world. Meanwhile, we got our GDP numbers that came out today. And of course, the first quarter GDP, I think GDP contracted by over 6%, which was worse than the consensus estimates. And it's interesting because within the GDP, consumer spending had an increase of about 2%. And a lot of analysts were pointing to that as like the silver lining, like, oh, look, see, consumers are bouncing back, they're spending. Well, of course, the fact that consumers are spending, this is not a good thing. We don't want consumers to spend. They're already too indebted. So the fact that they spent more, this certainly means that we just dug the hole a little deeper. It means that we're not solving our problems. But also, I think one of the reasons that consumer spending did go up was because there were a lot of sales. If you look at the inventory numbers, inventories collapsed. That was like the biggest subtractor from GDP, was a just huge plunge in inventories. So obviously what looks like is going on is that business